So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector. And today I'm joined with Eryka from the band Coma Hole, and she's coming up straight out of a parking lot today. So, at least you're not driving. I've done some driving video interviews, which is dangerous. Especially, I did it with a band from Europe, and and I kept watching the cars, and I'm like, if this dude has like an accident, I'm going to be the last person he's talking to. But
I thought I was risky, but that's a level up from what I'm willing to do. So
yeah. So I listened to the new album. I reviewed it on my channel, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed the review. I enjoyed the album. I got the promo, and it said stoner rock with some grunge in it. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds like something that I want to listen to. And I went ahead and I listened to your 2022 record as well. So pretty interesting thing. And you guys are a duo, so that's the sound is pretty good. So for people that maybe are not, don't know well the band, Eryka, tell us a little bit about the backstory of the band.
so I think we started practicing together like end of 2018, like December 2018. And then we had our first show in like the summer of 2019. And then we were supposed to record that first record in March of 2020. But as everybody knows, COVID happened, so it kind of pushed back all of our plans until the following year. Which honestly, I mean, I now I think like that was probably for the better. We got to kind of develop the ideas a bit more, uh, to produce the first record that we have out on Spotify, the self-titled. But yeah, I would say the origination of the band was kind of like I've known Steve for a very long time, but we didn't really interact too much. We had like a very big friend circle, because we're both from a small community. Like Rhode Island is super small, and we're both from like like the southern part of it. So there's a lot of overlapping towns, like everything's very close. And so the friend group kind of expanded across multiple districts. And everybody was just involved in music. He'd always been involved in like a lot of projects, and I'd always done stuff musically, but not been in bands. But I wrote a lot by myself, and it was kind of like a joke for a while, like kind of like a on either ends of our friend groups, they were like, "Oh, do you know Steve?" or "Oh, do you know Eryka? Like, you guys should probably jam or something sometime." And that went on for like 10 years. And I remember I hit him up a few times, but he was always like doing stuff. So it didn't really work out. And then eventually it kind of opened up to a point where we could do stuff together. And I had written a bunch of shit on bass and was just like, "Hey, so like this is like what I've done. Are you interested in like adding drums to this? Are you interested in kind of like seeing where this goes? Do you want to like do this thing together?" Um, and yeah, ever since that point, we've been doing stuff together. So that's kind of the backstory, like long story short, I guess. Known each other a long time, and then eventually, like 5 years ago, got together. I presented a bunch of ideas, was like, "Do you vibe with this? Do you feel a direction percussion wise with this? Are you interested? Do you want to be in a band with me?" So that's pretty much how it started, and we've just kind of been doing that format ever since.
Yeah. It's easier when it's two people. Like,
It's a lot more manageable. It's less
yeah,
schedules to juggle.
yeah,
It's a matter of like somebody asks you to play a show, and you're like, "Give me 1 second," and you just text the other person. You go, "Hey, can we do this?" And they go, "Yeah," and you go, "Yep, we're in." It's very
yeah,
easy.
because when it's like nine, those bands like a Slipknot that has nine people, I think that's a fucking pain in the ass. So many people plus the paycheck. You gotta invite it. Nine people, that's a lot of people, and it's two people in a band, and it sounds like more. especially the bass. When I was listening to the record, I'm like, sometimes the bass sounds like a guitar, and I think I mentioned like the White Stripes and other duos because there's I remember the other one, Royal Blood.
Yeah.
Their first album was good. After that, they sucked. But at least in my opinion. So yeah, so that fuzzy bass guitar. I have a friend that I do videos with that wanted me to ask you like, what pedals do you use?
So live is a little different from the record. I will admit that. Uh, for a live setup, what I do is I run two different amps. I run two different rigs, and it's usually I have an orange Terror bass head that goes through an Ampeg 410, and then I have a Sun concert head that also goes through an Ampeg 410. And then my board is pretty much like I use like four pedals. So it's like I have a tuner, I have a fuzz, and then I have an ABY box. Because I have one amp that is just the straight fuzz tone, and then the other amp is like fuzz plus everything else. So I got the ABY, and then after that, I have the POG, so it's the octave pedal, and then it goes into a reverb. I think it's the Earthquaker like levitation pedal or something. And then I have the Earthquaker uh Astral Destiny, which is like a really weird, like shimmery, reverby, synthy kind of noise pedal. It has so many different settings, but I honestly use it for one because the one setting that I use on it creates so much noise, and kind of like has this synthy quality to it, that live it just fills out a lot of space. So I try to keep it as simple as possible live because I feel like it's already a lot singing and playing, and then you're kind of tap dancing on top of that. So I don't want to have to do too much with my feet. I'm kind of clumsy. So I kind of want to keep it as simple as possible. That's the live setup. But for the record, it's a different sound. Uh, so with both records, we have double tracked bass. So one side is fuzz and the other side is distortion. So it creates that kind of differentiation sonically. You got that little bit of more high end in there. But then with this record, Hand of Severance, that's different from the first one, is after we got all the masters back for just the bass and drum tracks, I was like not fully satisfied. I was just like, I think this is all really good, but I kind of want to just add a little more. And so I did track guitar. Um, I tried to keep it very true to the dynamic of a duo. I didn't want to overdo it. I don't consider myself a very good guitar player, even though that was my first instrument.
Yeah.
I
I
just
don't play shit, so
I started out as an acoustic player and finger picking and all that, and then when I tried to form what became this band, I switched to electric, and I realized I hated it, and I thought I just didn't vibe with it, so I picked up a bass. And so, but I was like, I feel like if I just kind of add the chords or the octave up, it's going to fill
Mhm.
out the sound so much more. It's going to make it more aggressive. It's going to make it sound bigger. So there is a guitar on all those tracks, but a lot of the times it's just serving as like what the Pog would do live. It's just
Yeah,
an
because
octave up.
the
So
bass is more permanent, like
yeah,
in the sound.
I didn't want to take away from that. I just wanted to enhance the range pretty much because I was like, this is great, but there needs to be like another layer just to kick it up
Yeah.
that much more. And I think it helps. I feel pretty good about that decision. And then the little leads, whatever. I tried my best. And I'm
No,
pretty
I saw
happy
your
with it.
Instagram. I
But
saw that you were play. I saw you playing guitar on your Instagram. Uh, Plus, I can tell that you like the new Jerry Cantrell record.
I love Jerry Cantrell very much.
Me
That
too.
record is also very good. I it's that one. He's come out with two in the past few years, but
Yeah,
out
the
of the
Brighton
two,
one, and
Brighton,
I Want
I
Blood.
saw him a couple times on that tour, and that was awesome. But I Want Blood, I think, is probably my favorite of the two
Oh,
that
it's
he came
it's
out with.
probably my top five albums of the year.
It's super reminiscent of like Boggy Depot and Degradation Trip, and Brighton was cool. It was just a little more soft,
Yeah.
which is great. But I Want Blood, it resonates with me a lot more.
Yeah, when
So
I saw the
that
name
that's
of the album, I'm like, this has to be harder. Just the name. Like,
yeah,
yeah, the name of the record. So yeah, I followed your Instagram and I saw that you put you put the new Off the Rails, which is a track from that. So and the sound of Coma Hole, there's a lot of like grungy undertones uh to it. You know, I love the track Nevermind. And obviously it has nothing to do with Nevermind by Nirvana. But I like the shouting part and there's on the Sun River mouth at the end. You kept something that you were saying like I heard something like, "Oh, this sucked" or something like this.
yeah. There was like moment that like recording this record was very challenging at times and emotional at times, especially Nevermind. It's been really interesting to me the reception that that song has gotten because for me, that was like the hardest song to record. Uh, I even went back a few times to redo vocals and like I was like, I hate this song. Like, I don't know how I feel about the ending of it. I hate my vocals. Like, or just like I had to change kind of the vision of it a few times because I
Mm.
was just not hitting it in a way that I felt good about. And like there was some tears. Like it was hard. Um and for like once we got all of our what the heck just happened?
Oh,
Okay, once we got
that's okay.
all of our masters back, that was like the song on the record that I was like I fucking hate this song. But I'm just gonna accept it that like that's just me judging it too hard and maybe other people don't feel that way. And I we weren't even gonna release it as a single because I was like, I hate
And
this song.
usually,
I was like, it's not strong. I don't like it. But Steve was like, I mean, it's short and it's like catchy and like that should be one of the singles. And I was like, I don't know. I hate it so much. And then eventually I was like, whatever, we'll just do it. And like that's been a song that everybody's been like, oh, I love that song. So it's been really nice hearing that because for me personally, like I've never like cried so much and had such a hard time recording a song. Like I did not like that song for a really
why
long
was it
time.
so hard? Because of the lyrics or the way you were trying to sing?
Um Singing. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't the lyrics. I'd had that song in the bank for like a long time. It used to be like a 6.5 minute song. And
Okay.
then we played it once and I put it to rest for a while. And then when we were gonna record this record, I was like, I want to bring it back out, but I gotta change shit about it. And then I cut out like 3 minutes of the song and was like, this is better. And but just the jumps vocally were
Hmm.
really difficult for me. And I've always had a difficult relationship with my voice, it feels. Like I got periods where it's like it feels so easy. And then I get like one sinus infection and then I'm like screwed up for like 6 months. And I feel like I was just in one of those periods where I kind of lost my rhythm with it. And I couldn't hit it like in that aggressive way that I wanted to. And we did a bunch of takes when we were down there and then I ended up going back another time to redo it and I still like couldn't do it. So I was just getting so frustrated because I'm like, I feel it in here and I know it would sound so good, but I can't execute it like the way that I want to. So it's just very frustrating. Like I want to be as genuine to the vision and the music as possible. And so when you feel it inside, but you can't replicate it, it's just like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, what do I do? So it's been nice that that's one that people seem to like really like, not to get like, I don't know, like arrogant or weird or whatever. It's just like it's nice because that was like the bane of my existence for the whole record, and a lot of people
That
are like, never mind, it's fucking awesome. So thank you.
that
I'm glad that you
happens.
like it. Your
Yeah, well,
review was so nice. Thank you again for that. I was listening to it yesterday and was just like, this is like the nicest review I've ever heard on anything in my life. Like, I'm gonna cry. So thank
well,
you.
good that you didn't see the ones where I'm where I'm not that nice to the band. Well,
Well,
it depends. It depends. But I don't do like scores. But I also we have a series on my channel called "Is It That Bad?" And we do a panel and we talk about bad albums. And then we give thumbs up, and sometimes we save them. But your album wasn't on there. I talked about the new Skillet record for that one. For the it's fun, but but it sounds like you're very critical of yourself. Like sometimes you're a hard critic, and I have a hard time sometimes watching my reviews and interviews because I think everyone hates the sound of their own voice. Well,
I can.
except maybe some politicians who love the sound of their voice.
They
But
love themselves, man.
yeah, but I'm kind of critical. So yeah, that sounds good. But yeah, I had a question because there's 6 songs on the Spotify and on the record, but when I got the promo, there's a song after Luces.
So I've been trying to figure this out because I have I've looked up like the reviews and whatnot, and it's not on every review site, but I've read some where then they add in this title called Ascendance, and I don't know where this came from. I looked back
It's in the
in
promo, but
I
I
looked
didn't say
back
it.
in my kit that I sent, and I don't see anywhere where I said that word or anything about there being a seventh song or anything. Because I was like, am I being gaslit? I was like, or did I do this? And it's like a miscommunication. I was like, is it a language thing? Because I know that there's been some interviews too that are
Yeah,
like
it's right
like
there. It
France
says
and Spain, and
5 minutes
I'm
and
like,
40 seconds.
what'd you say?
It says that the song is 5 minutes and 40 seconds after Luces. So it's weird. I think because I listened to it there, but then I listened to it. But when I saw the official was 6, I'm like, then I'm just gonna talk about the 6 songs.
So
So
I don't know then. Unless it's something on my part that I did, which I don't think so. I think I organized
you know
everything
what you should
correctly.
do when you do another show? You're like, we're going to play Ascendance, and then just silence.
Yeah, right? Because I like so at the end of Nooses, there is like a bit. It's a closing outro. There's piano.
I think
Uh,
that might be it. Yeah.
but I never called it anything. I never said it was a separate song. I sent just there's 6 songs. That's it.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to
That's
figure
very
out where
90s of
this.
you. Because remember in the 90s, like every album had like the hidden track.
Well, yeah. And honestly, I had a lot of ideas for actual hidden tracks for this record, but I just didn't like get to it. And I was like, I don't know how to do it. Like, whatever. We'll just do it as like a bit for our friends or whatever. Because I have plenty of funny stuff that I wanted to put as a silent track or like a hidden track. But this, so it literally, it's nooses and like the feedback kind of goes on and then it starts and it's just an outro. I never, I never said it was a separate track. I never called it anything. I never I just said it's nooses. So I don't know where ascendance came from.
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure that out.
That's why I
'Cause
didn't say it on my review, but I said when I interview her, I'm gonna ask her because I have questions like like
yeah, your guess is as good as mine. I'm not really sure where it came from. I've looked
so
back in all my information that I sent out to our PR like company and stuff. And I'm like, I didn't call it anything. It's 6 tracks. I don't know what got
Well,
lost
like it has
there.
to have a name. It sounds
You
like
want to
they're
call it
ascending.
ascending's fine, whatever.
You're
I didn't
ascended
name
because
it.
after the nooses, and if you die, you're ascending
You
somewhere. I
die,
don't know.
yeah. Well, hopefully you ascend.
Oh,
Hopefully. Whatever.
or it could have been called descending too.
It's descendants.
It could have been, but that, but I had that question because I found it interesting. But also the music video for King B when you're all dressed in, like that great like setup, like that's also a great song.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah, and the video. So tell me a little bit about King B.
Um, that's definitely my favorite song on the record. It was like the third single re-released, and I'm like only slightly bummed that it's like I feel like Alphaholics and Nevermind are like neck
Mhm.
and neck, and then King B's kind of like down here, and like
Alphaholic's a
I'm
great way
just
to
like
start the
whatever.
record.
I'm like I think it's just because it's like the last single that was released and whatever, It's hard to keep the momentum going the whole time. But I love that song. It's definitely incredibly Alice in Chains inspired. Uh I'm
Even
probably
the even
almost
the getup of the video, I got reminded of those Alice in Chains videos for the 90s. Like they had those epic videos like no, no, I'm thinking of the one with the three-legged dog. We just it had an
oh
anniversary
the self-titled.
actually today. Yeah, it had an anniversary today.
Yep.
Yeah, but I can't remember the name of the grind. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, that music video, and Alice in Chains had some cool music
The
videos.
color toning and all the weird shit. I they're my favorite band. I have Jar of Flies tattooed on my arm over here, and I got some symbols that like Lane drew on the dirt, like
Yeah,
the inlays, like the lyric book stuff. Like
yeah.
they're my favorite band. Um,
I almost
so
wore my Alice in Chains shirt, but
Nirvana's close enough. I noticed it. I was like, is this for Nevermind? Is that why he wore it?
no, it was clean.
But
I'm not.
I love King Bee. That's probably my favorite song on the record. It's I don't know. I wanted to kind of take that dirt feel and reinvent it because I love that song and I love that record. And I wanted something that was very like to me that's a very hypnotic kind of powerful song.
Mhm.
Um and that song's all about like I started writing it about like a specific situation, and then it kind of turned into a culmination of experiences. So King Bee kind of means like I viewed those culminations of experiences like a bunch of bees in a hive. And I was like, I don't know. This is kind of the imagery I feel when I'm writing this. Um yeah, I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah,
I
no,
That's my favorite song. I
yeah,
love that
it's a
song.
cool
I'm
song.
proud of it.
And now that you mentioned love for Alice in Chains, let's show the artwork because I see a correlation with the dirt, like cover and this cover. And now that I was like figuring it out, and I think it's the face of the woman on the cover.
Okay.
Because in the Alice in Chains dirt, she's like looking like that way in the dirt. So it's I don't know. It doesn't look like her, but it has like a nod. So, question: Is that supposed to be you on the cover?
Like, they say that artists tend to
Hmm.
draw themselves. I wouldn't
Hmm.
say it's on purpose. Uh, but I
It's
tend
the
to
blue hair.
definitely,
Yeah.
it's blue hair. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like a metaphor of myself, but I'm not like looking at a reference of myself, Like I'm not trying to
Hmm.
make it look like me, but it's kind of implied that I don't know, like the subject matter of the record has to do with stuff that I've been through, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, it
So,
sounds like it's very personal, yeah, and it goes into the first record, into this one. Plus, your voice is very, there's voices that are good, but not everyone can have a voice that's good and also like transcends like emotion. So it you can
thank you
tell
so
the
much.
emotion. Yeah, you can tell the emotion, the lyrics. So yeah, I think it's all well. First of all, when I saw this artwork, before I listened to the music, I saw the artwork, and since I'm from the '90s, I'm from the mentality. If the artwork is good, the music must be good because
That's how I feel about everything. So,
yeah, well, there's some albums like I love the Black Album by Metallica, but if I was just looking at the album cover, it's just a black stuff with like a snake somewhere.
yep.
So it's not the best cover to look at. But when you look at covers like this, is a very striking cover, and
Thank
the
you.
details, and she's strung along. I don't know if it's like a ceiling because like she's strung along, and you see something in at the top. So tell me a little bit about who drew the artwork and the inspiration.
So, all the artwork is by me. I do all the art in the band.
That's
I do the
fucking
album
awesome.
covers. I do
That,
all of the merch. I do all this, like, all the art is me. Um, I kind of view the whole band as one big immersive art project. It's kind of
Mhm.
just like what I put all my energy into. So, um, this idea has existed in a couple iterations. I made this artwork a while ago, and it was totally different from this. But I made it a while ago because I thought about like making some t-shirt or something. And then I kind of put it away because I didn't love it. I was like, it's kind of almost there, but I don't know. Put it away. And then when we were working on new songs for this record, I drew up something entirely different. It was going to be a totally different album cover. Uh, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then as the songs developed and my feelings kind of changed, I was like, nah, this isn't it. Like, it's cool, but it doesn't feel right. And so then I went back to this drawing and then I just kind of redid it. I was like, what colors would I use? What would I change about this? And I redid it and I went, yeah, this is the vibe I want. This is like the representation I'm going for with the record. So I guess the idea is kind of like you see the nails or the pins, whatever it is, kind
Yeah,
of like in her heart and in her arms and stuff. And I kind of had this idea of like feeling puppeted, which is why you see like the two boards up top.
yeah, the
It's
boards up
kind of
top.
just
Yeah,
feeling like you're being like torn apart and pulled by your heartstrings, and somebody else is in control of it, and like there's so much of it anchored in you that you feel like you have no control. Um, and that's also kind of what I've gathered from it as I've looked at it, because I don't always draw stuff with like a full idea. It's kind of like I have this process with writing music where it's like I'll start writing songs, and then if I get like stuck, I'll start like picturing images, and then I'll start
hmm
drawing images, and I kind of go back and forth until they both kind of create a story and they reflect each other. And then once it's all done, I kind of sit there and I'm like, so what does it mean? And like interpreting just like my own stuff I've made. So I kind of look at that like it's just feeling like you're like, what the fuck? And like there's all these different, like everything is pulling you in all these different directions, and something is controlling it, and you feel just fucking helpless by all of it. And like at the center of yourself, it's just like that's where the most of it lies, and you're trying to figure out I don't know how to cut the ties, and that's where like the name comes from too. I didn't I know I'm really bad at coming up with names for songs and records and shit like that, and I think the name of the record was the last thing that I had to
hmm
come up with, and I was just
It's a cool
sitting
name,
trying to
Hand of Severance.
thank
It's
you.
really, yeah.
I kind of just wrote down a bunch of stuff, and then eventually I was like Yeah, that's the one. I was like, yep, it's about just severing ties with a lot of stuff that, like,
Like
isn't good for
like
you.
letting shit go and out of
Yep,
your system.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally relatable subject matter, especially for us 90s people who we witness a lot of shit. Uh, like, we've seen 9/11, we've seen wars, we've seen everything, and we're still not 50. We're still,
And we're going through more movements right now.
yes,
So,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, the artwork is awesome. It's great artwork. It's like if you can do the artwork just like John from Baroness, do it. It's
oh, thank
yeah.
you. I A couple people have said that, and I think John Baisley is an incredible artist. So,
I met him.
thank
I went
you
to a
for
concert when I
that.
lived in yeah, yeah, when I lived in Florida. I went to a Baroness concert, and he was out in the parking lot talking with people. So I
Yeah.
said hi to him. I asked him if I could take a picture, and I took a picture with him. Super nice. And then they played in a small club in Fort Lauderdale. Super cool concert. Yeah, I was really awesome that I got to chat with him. This was before I had a channel. Uh, but now, I talk to like bands, a lot of bands. But I was glad that I could, like I could finally talk to you because I really enjoyed the record, and I thought it was, it's a cool concept. You're a duo. Plus, uh, I like the emotional aspect of the music because I like that emotional music that's also hard hitting and not like super emo because there's stuff like that. So I enjoyed that. So you were on tour last week. So do you have any shows, or are you gonna rest for the holidays and see what's coming up next year?
So, yeah, we just went on a 2-week tour, and that was very fun. I think I'm already having withdrawals from it. I wish I was still playing shows. But so we have like a show or two for the rest of the year, and then we don't really have anything planned. We're slotted to play Maryland Doomfest next year, so that's cool.
Oh,
And
nice.
then
Yeah.
I have some fests I've thrown in submissions for, and we're gonna try to figure out some tours around that, and then just other shit in general. But I think we're gonna try to just like take it easy, and I want to write. Like I
Mm.
have so much stuff I had already been writing anyway for another record, but you get swept up in everything, and it's hard to
Yeah.
find time and energy to focus on
Maybe
it.
you can do
So.
an acoustic type of like Jar of Flies type of record.
I mean, I've already been kind of doing that myself anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, for
That's my
me at least,
favorite EP of all time.
that's my favorite. That's why it's on my arm. I have Jar
Yeah.
of Flies right
That that
here.
yeah, that's a
So
great I bought it on vinyl. I finally got it on vinyl. The only one that I'm missing that it's not available is that Alice in Chains Unplugged one. Uh
it's a
and
really good record.
yes, that's my favorite Unplugged. The Alice in Chains one. I think it's just so good.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I'm guessing would your dream tour be like going with Jerry or opening for Alice?
I mean, probably. I would love to be able to like meet and speak with Jerry Cantrell. Uh, and I mean, it would be just like such an awesome opportunity to be able to play with a band like that from that
Yeah.
era that is incredibly influential and inspiring to me. Like, that's where I pull a lot of inspiration from. Like, we hang out in the doom and stoner metal community. Um, and I love all those people. Everybody is incredibly supportive, and nice and real. And there's definitely times in the music that it overlaps, but a lot of my inspiration comes from like the late 80s, 90s, like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Mudhoney, uh, Tad and Paw and Skinyard and Grunt Truck and like all of those, the Green River, like Hole, PJ Harvey, like, and then you go to
Oh
Queens
yeah,
of Stone Age and Caius, and there's just like a huge map of all of those kinds of bands. That's where like when I get stuck, I just always go back to those bands and I try to find inspiration and stuff. Like there's so much emotion and experiment and like just it feels very raw and to me and I relate to it a lot. So that's like what I carry around with me when I think about like what Coma Hole's music is and like the message I try to get across in the songwriting, like the vibe.
yeah. Plus, it's a cool name.
Thank you. Nobody can ever say it right the first time or spell it right on flyers, which I think is funny.
Why?
So
What? How do it's coma and another word hole.
we have gotten oh man, we've gotten come a hole, come home. We've gotten come
Come,
hole, my favorite one.
come
Uh
hole.
come hole is pretty funny. Uh there's definitely been more than that. I can't think of what they are at the moment, but there's been a lot of times it's been misspelled or mispronounced or people there was a podcast that this was when our first record came out and they just play songs that were just released from new bands and they announced our name and they were like, this is Coma Hole. They're like a band with a name that's uncomfortable to say with art that's uncomfortable to look at. And I've just always wanted to put that on a t-shirt because I think that's so funny. Like
They
I
clearly
like
haven't
I
seen
like
a
that.
Cannibal Corpse. They haven't seen a Cannibal Corpse album cover then.
Yeah, right? I like that reaction. I think it's funny. And then even though you said this about 20 minutes ago, it just registered in my brain now, like the end of Rivermouth when you were like, you're
Yeah,
saying something. Uh yeah, so like that was like I thought it would be funny to keep that in. At first we weren't gonna, and then the more we just like kept playing the song with that ending, I was like, that's staying.
it's kind of
Because
funny.
I like I like a little funny and I like a little rawness to it,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be all serious all the time.
No, I think
So like
albums in the 90s kept some mistakes at the
yeah,
end, and it was like
exactly.
yeah, like the oh, like you hear something like, oh, it's kind of funny, and it's like in a way like this is the problem I have with some newer. I like some new music, like newer bands, but I think it's too clean and
Mm-hmm.
too over. It sounds like sometimes too like I love a band like Periphery, which is the genty, but sometimes it sounds too clean. It's too
I agree with
perfect.
you.
And I
Yep.
like it sometimes when it's like a little bit raw,
Mm-hmm.
like Nirvana. For example, Nirvana, like I never would say Kurt Cobain was the best guitar player out there because he wasn't, but he wrote great fucking songs and the feeling. So I think that's
Yes.
something that like for like I like all types of music, but that's also my problem. Like with a band like Dream Theater, it's like it's too perfect. It's it's too sometimes I like more like the raw in your face stuff.
Sometimes when
Yeah.
it's too perfect and the production is too good, it just doesn't feel emotional. It feels too robotic for me, and I
Yeah.
would rather hear a bunch of distortion and noise and like weird fuck ups and stuff like that because it's more relatable. Like, yeah, you want stuff to sound good to a point,
Mm.
but I don't like overproduction. That's also something that I relate to that with what you're saying because there's a lot of bands, even bands that have been around for a long time that I love, that newer records come out and I'm just like, why does your guitar sound like it's in like a vacuum? Like I just like I liked when it just sounded kind of unhinged. Like it just has an element of texture and emotion to it that trying to make it sound pristine and everything be on time and everything's like there's no noise in between any hits and it's just like I like the noise and the static, and it just, I feel like it adds a layer of atmosphere and realness to a lot of music. And that's also why I like the decade of music that I like. And I like the little, like the speaking bits and stuff. And that's why that bit stayed, is because it was a joke for a while. Because I
Ah.
said that when I was recording the scream on that song, like the last like "Ah!" And I did a take and I went, God, that was terrible. It was awful. That's what I say. And the person who was recording us then just put it at the end of the song, and I we just laughed every time we played it through. And eventually I said, well, that's staying. I was like, I don't care.
It's
That's
funny.
staying.
It's
So, and I think it's funny that people, because I've forgotten since, but a couple people have pointed that out and they go, that's so funny that you kept that. And I was like, thank you. That was an artistic decision. Uh,
yeah,
because I like that level of like realness. I like music like that. And I don't want shit to be perfect all the time. And it's
yeah.
definitely not. Because I'm not perfect.
I
So,
like the funny stuff. Like in the Stone Temple Pilots album, Purple finishes with
mhm.
a song. They're saying like it's like it's obviously a joke song. The one that's like our second album. They just put it
Yeah,
there as a joke. Yeah.
our second album. Bing,
12
bing.
gracious melodies. And I saw that they played Puerto Rico last Saturday. It was funny because people in the comments from Puerto Rico were like, but Wyland is not singing. And I wrote to them, if you revive him, like yes, would be awesome. But no, they have another singer. But luckily, I saw Scott Weiland with Velvet Revolver back in 2005.
Oh,
Uh,
that's cool.
Oh yeah, it was cool. But yeah, I like that. There's like and the hidden tracks and the thing with music now since it's streaming, it's like people are like it's not the same like when you bought the album and you found out if there was a hidden track. It's not the same anymore. Now I sound like an old fart, but yeah, it's kind of cool. But that's bands like you're and there's a lot of newer bands too, like are doing like grunge stuff, which I'm really into. Like
I've
there's like
I've seen a lot of it in like the like I don't consider like I'm not old. I'm not calling myself old. I'm 28. But in the like
no,
I
you're
got
young.
friends that are like 23, 24. Like that area, like the the early 20s now that like grew up with TikTok and stuff, because I feel
Hmm.
totally disconnected to that. We don't have one because I don't get it. But like I see a lot like of that generation like musically on TikTok, and there's so many bands that are so like it's like grunge is back. And it's like cool, and then I'm also like, man, like I'm not that it matters because I'm 28, whatever, I can do whatever I want, but I'm like, man, I was just in between both of you. Like it's like now it's cool when you're like 23 to do it. Like, but when
Yeah,
I was doing it like 5 years before you, it was all metalcore. Like I wish I
yeah,
could have been a part of
yeah.
your
Now
wave.
there's
Like,
like there's stuff called grunge gaze.
yup, grunge
Uh,
case.
There's a band that I reviewed that they put the album is grunge gaze, but they were speaking no, it wasn't grunge gaze. That band was like new
I
metal
love
with
that as a
shoegaze.
term. Also, I'm gonna
So they
use
called
that
it
for sure.
new gaze, which is new metal with shoegaze. And
New
but it's funny
days.
because the band said on their promos like they invented that, and I'm like Deftones, like
New
what?
days.
Like I'm sorry you didn't invent it, but it's cool that you're that you're playing it. So yeah, it's cool time now because like music is very easily accessible, but
Yeah.
also very easily to everything can fall in the cracks. So I like when I discover new bands that I like to, like I keep listening to music. I'm not that dude that says like nothing good came out of high school. Uh and yeah, I may be 47, but I mean I feel younger. So yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
state of mind. It
It's
doesn't
a state
matter.
of mind, yeah.
It's a state of
So
mind.
So, Eryka, I don't want to take more of your night because I know you gotta keep driving to get to your house. But I thank you, for taking some time to chat with me and talk about the album. So, people, Coma Hole, uh, Hand of Severance is out now, and you can buy it physically. I saw that you have copies of CDs.
Yes.
Where can they get them?
Through our Bandcamp, it's just comahole.bandcamp.com. That's where you can get the CDs. There's digital downloads. Uh, I'm trying to think. There's some merch up right now. I just haven't been able to update stuff since coming back from tour. There might be like one shirt up if you also want to buy a t-shirt. But the
Do
CD,
you have a
digital
shirt with
download.
the logo of the album, like with the artwork?
Yes, those are actually the only ones that are up right now because I know
Oh,
for a fact what sizes I have. Everything else, I have no idea.
okay. I
So,
would I would buy that shirt because that's an awesome artwork
thank
to
you.
be having around. So Eryka, before I let you go, anything you like to say to the people?
I don't know, just thank you to everybody, like if you're listening, who has come out the past couple weeks, in the various places we've played. It was so much fun getting to play the record, because that's what we did. We played the whole record, Hannah Severance, every day, on tour. That was amazing. If you were there, thank you. Also, thank you to everybody else who has taken the time to listen to the record. Um, yeah, if you haven't, but you're gonna take a listen to it, I hope you like it. I hope something resonates with you. Uh, appreciate everybody who's been there the whole time to support what we're doing. So, and thank you so much for wanting to talk about it. Your review was so really nice. So thank you for that. I'm glad that you liked it.
Yeah. Now you got to you have to go see my not nice reviews. So, so you're like, oh, he came out. I like to make jokes and on my reviews and stuff. So it's cool. So Eryka, thank you for joining me from your car in New York
Of
to my
course.
couch here in Puerto Rico. So until next time, couchers, this is Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.